just started the recording for the meeting.
We heard.
Oh, didn't say anything on mine. Well, I see Mr. Davis is on, muted currently.
By chat CBC. Is anybody unmuted yet?
Mo, can you hear me?
Unmuted.
I hear Robert.
Thank you.
Hello? I hear the clerk. Thank you. It's 7:01. I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the Oxford Village Council at 7 p.m. on October 13th of 2020. Shall we say the Pledge of Allegiance with a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you ready for roll call attendance?
Yes, roll call.
Bailey?
Bailey is here.
Cook?
Here.
Kemp?
Here.
Helmut?
Yes.
We have a quorum. Item number 4 is approval of the agenda. Do we have any alterations to be proposed to the agenda?
If there's no changes, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. The September 16th, 2020 council meeting is presented.
That would be the October 13th meeting.
I think that's what I said. Sorry, that's the October 13th.
I think my phone does a little bit of impromptu translation of words.
Support,
I'm
Kemp.
not hearing. Okay, we have a motion and support. Any comments?
Okay, roll call vote. Kemp?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Helmut?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes. Okay, we have an agenda. Next item is number 5, call to the public. We'll have another call to the public later on in the meeting. The one now, I'll read the little blurb at the top here. Public input will be allowed during call to the public. Public people may voluntarily state their name and address. You don't have to state your name and address. This time is for the council to hear from the public. The council will not engage in discussion with the public on comments made by the public. We are here to listen. And this is according to the Open Meetings Act. Each person will be allowed an opportunity to speak for no more than 3 minutes. All comments will be addressed to the council president pro tem. In the event that we don't have lots and lots of people commenting, you'll probably be able to speak more than 3 minutes. So, we're
Mr.
open.
Bailey, I'll go through the list like I have in the past and unmute or ask them to unmute if they have a comment.
Thank you.
First phone number I have is 248-8049, 804-2966. Do you have a comment? So they're muted on their end. Okay, next phone number is 248-408-8104. Any comment? Okay. Next phone number is 248-310-5087. Any comment, please? I hope they're able to get to unmuting. *6. And then we have a Darren. He must be logged in on the computer. Any comment?
No comment.
Thank you. Next we have Ashley Ross. Any comment?
No comment.
Thank you. And that, Mr. Bailey, looks like all we have.
Thank you. We can proceed to the consent agenda, which is item number 6. 6A is receive and file items. Do
Mr.
we have
Chair,
any? Go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure, everybody received the correspondence from Diane Hughes. She brought that into the office today. It's regarding the article in the Oxford Leader on September 16th about the plan to allow alcoholic beverages in open areas. I can read that for you in its entirety if you don't have it, but I wanted to make you aware that that was submitted.
I think it would be good to read it. I at least have not received my copy.
Okay. It says, to whom it may concern, I read an article in the Oxford Leader on 16 September 2020 about the plan to allow alcoholic beverages in open areas with the containers clearly marked with the business logo and the social district. I have no problem with this if there are restrictions on where these areas are located. I do have a problem with alcoholic beverages being allowed in Centennial Park downtown. I live very close to the park where families bring their children, and I think it's inappropriate to combine children and alcohol in a community gathering place. Will alcohol be allowed during the summer concerts in the park? Who will monitor the behavior of adults with alcohol, and who will clean up after them? The police? As if they don't have enough to do. I think it's a shame that so much emphasis is placed on this proposal. Sincerely, Diane Hughes.
Well, thank you. If Diane Hughes is presently listening, I thank her for her input. We also have correspondence. There's an item from Victoria Connolly. Has council received that?
That was included in the packet.
Yes.
Yes.
I have a comment on that one. Perhaps I'll wait until council comments at the end of the meeting. My comment is a very, very low priority. It's something that we wouldn't do. It's something that the state of Michigan conceivably might do. Let's go on to, let's see, 6DI is letters, reports, and minutes. Are there any others that we should be looking at presently? I'm not hearing any. How about 6C, approval items? We've got several sets of minutes to look to approve. Let's see, shall I list them? Let's say, September 8th, 2020, regular meeting. A special meeting on that same date, September 8th. We have a special meeting on October 7th, then we have a closed session from the September 8th meeting.
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion to receive and file consent agenda items A, B, and C, including the bills in the amount of $210,675.32.
Thank you. Do we have a second? I'll second it.
Support, Kevin.
Okay,
Go ahead, Dave.
you got lots of support. Any comments on those items before we approve them? Well, let's do a roll call then.
Okay, Cook,
Yes.
Helmuth,
Yes.
Hemp,
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes. I would note that the motion did not include 6C3, which is monthly budget report, treasurer's report, budget amendments, or perhaps it was included and maybe I just didn't hear it.
I included A, B, and C, even though A isn't anything. But so I included everything.
Oh, I see. The reason why you pulled out 2 because you wanted to state the dollar amount. So your intent was clearly to include the 3 also. That's my
Correct.
interpretation. So we've dealt with C, the consent agenda. Do we have any unfinished business or old business?
No.
Okay. 6.8 is new business. 6.8A is a letter of resignation from Kelsey Cook. Perhaps Ms. Cook would like to read it. Not everybody has it sitting in front of them, like some of the people listening in.
Sure. So my letter is addressed to the clerk. Dear Ms. Anka, please accept my resignation from my current village council position with a term expiring at the upcoming election on November 3rd, 2020. This resignation is intended to be effective at the adjournment of the next regular village council meeting tonight, which is scheduled for October 13th, 2020. Sincerely, Kelsey Cook. And the point of this resignation is that I'm resigning from my current seat because at our last special meeting, I was appointed to fill a vacancy on council. So, thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Cook. I understand that this is just the first step in a number of things that are going to take a while to accomplish to get the membership of the council back to normal. At present, we have 4 members on council. We should have 5. And as of the adjournment of this meeting, we'll only have 3 people on council. Do we have any comments from people who are more knowledgeable about our situation than I am currently?
Mr. Bailey, this is Joe Madore.
Yeah.
You are correct. This was a prerequisite because before Ms. Cook could take up the seat that was vacated by Mr. Frost, she needed to vacate this seat so she wasn't in the predicament of, not being able to by holding 2 seats concurrently. So resignation of this seat will free her up to be eligible for the vacancy that she was appointed to, and she has, I think, 2 or 3 more days in order to be sworn in for that position.
Thank you. I apologize for any confusion that people may be experiencing with regard to this situation. I certainly found it very confusing at first.
Folks, we need to take action to accept the resignation of Kelsey Cook.
I'll make a motion to,
Yes, I agree. It's a technical thing, but we've got to do it.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Kelsey Cook that expires November 2nd, effective today. I believe I did that right.
You did.
What was the chant?
I'll second it. Any comments? I have a comment. I'm so confused. Shall we have a roll call?
Helmuth,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
I would like to note that Cook will still be voting until the adjournment of today's meeting. Okay. 8B is a first reading. As I understand, a rather important reading. Reading of the amendment to ordinance number 411, section 6, repeal and sunset provision, prohibition of marijuana establishments. Could somebody introduce this to us now?
Mr. Bailey, yes, this was taken up at the workshop last week, and in order to extend sunset beyond the current, I think it's December 31st date, there's this process to amend the ordinance, a first reading and a second reading, one which must be a public hearing. So if the idea was to extend the sunset, tonight would be the first reading, at the November meeting would be the public hearing and the second reading, and then it has to be published. And that gives us just enough time to get it in, the amendment to the ordinance, before the end of the year, so the sunset could be extended. Mr. Davis did, he should, when it was asked at last week's meeting how far perhaps we should extend the sunset, and if I remember right, and I think it might be in the minutes, he said at least the first quarter of 2021. So at this point, it's up to council to decide, you know, to what degree they wanted to extend it out.
Well, I see two issues here. One is, do we want to extend it at all? And I'm inclined personally to be in favor of that concept. The other question is, what will be the date? So I'm open to hear what people have to say on this topic. Perhaps we should have a motion first, and then we can discuss. We can discuss.
Would you like me to give a motion?
Did I hear Mo say something?
I'll give a motion if you're ready for a motion.
Well, I prefer to have a motion before we discuss the motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the first reading with an inclusion date of April 30th, 2021 in section 6, and to schedule the second reading of ordinance 411 for Tuesday, November 10th, 2020, at the regular council meeting, to be held at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter.
Could Mr. Davis give us an idea of whether this is in proper form?
The motion is fine. We just need a second.
Oh, I'll second it.
oh, are you ready to vote? Cook,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Helmuth,
Yes.
Well, that was quick. I thought maybe we might discuss this for 15 minutes.
Gotta be quicker than that around here, Dave. My phone's gonna die before that.
Uh-oh. Okay, that was 8B, the First Amendment. 8C is information about, what? Did somebody
Do we
say
want to
something?
schedule the public hearing now?
That was part of Mo's motion.
that was part of the motion, but good observation. Mo put it in the motion that the public hearing and the second reading would be at the regular November meeting.
Someone else did bring up a workshop though, correct?
Yes,
Or
yes, you are correct.
Town hall?
At the,
That's what I meant to say.
at the
town
la-
hall.
Yes, that is correct. At the last meeting, I discussed getting to you a cover memo, which is just about completed, so that you had it in ample time. And then you would all have the most current ordinance with my thoughts on the little things that I think still need to be addressed. And I'm still working my way through Kelsey Cook's comments so that we're addressing all of those. And at the same time, we indicated that we would like to hold a town hall meeting on this topic to get feedback from the folks in general. And part of that was driven by the fact that I think some of us believe that the public at large does not even know what we're considering. Because if you remember in public comments last meeting, we were still getting questions about medical marijuana. And as you know, this is not about medical marijuana. So I think a clarification public hall, town hall, village hall meeting would be appropriate.
Yes, but we have not selected a date.
That would be correct. I just wanted Councilperson Kemp to know she wasn't dreaming up things.
Thanks for validating me, Bob.
Do we have any suggestions about what kind of dates would not work and what dates would work?
Between now and the end of the year, we have a lot to get through. I believe we have to do performance evaluations on Joe and Terry, and those have to be scheduled in the next couple months. We've got council. We have to elect the president pro tem following the next election. We have a new council member coming on board. We've got Thanksgiving, we've got Christmas. So keep all that in mind when you pick a day.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I might interject that if you're going to entertain setting a date, you need to amend your agenda. So I have had calls on the item A on the agenda with the first reading of the amendment, and I explained to people what was up for discussion tonight and clarified that the changes to the draft ordinance that we're currently working on, we were not ready to discuss that, and that as far as I knew, we weren't setting anything this evening, setting anything up for that. So
what I would recommend is that you get the materials from me in the next 7 days. You as the council folks spend a lot of time on the issues between now and your November meeting so that you understand the ordinance scheme and you're prepared for a town hall meeting. And at your November meeting, we set the town hall meeting date.
Mr. Bailey, this is Joe.
Yes.
And I think Mo was pointing out some pretty busy calendars, and after the November election, we'll have at least one new council member, and then right into the holidays and all the other things. So I think it might take a little bit of time. I think a suggestion looming in what she was thinking is perhaps we do this right after the first of the year. We have January, February, March, and April to complete the task. So maybe on the front end of that time frame is when you have your public, not a public hearing, but a public meeting or a town hall. But the holidays and all the new changes to council are behind us. The holidays are behind us. Perhaps in January you find a time that you could do the town hall. And then you still have 90-plus days to make any decision and make any changes going forward.
Yes.
Yeah, and that, Joe, I agree with that, Joe, and I also echo the fact that I think a town hall is much more effective when the council persons are ready for the town hall, meaning that they understand the ordinance being proposed backwards and forwards, so that the whole meeting is more effective.
And perhaps over the holidays, as they have the latest version that you're going to provide, they can speak to friends and family and neighbors over that 45-day, 30, whatever period. A, it'll help get the word out, and B, it'll help everyone understand it more.
I would also like to comment that every meeting that we have includes 2 town halls. It includes item 5, call to public, and it includes item 10, public comment. And so if anybody wants to get their 2 cents worth into the council in advance, you can do that at this meeting when we get down to number 10, or at any other meeting. Now, that's not in the format of a discussion. That's in the format of our listening and you speaking. But it's the next best thing to a town hall, in my opinion, and it has the advantage that you can do it at any meeting.
So we agreed we're gonna set the date at the next meeting? Is what I got.
Well, our clerk has pointed out to us that we need a technical alteration of the agenda to allow us to do that this evening.
If we're going to set the town meeting at our next meeting, we don't have to do anything to our agenda tonight.
True.
Will the new members be seated next at November's meeting?
Well, the clerk will tell us about that.
They have, the election is on November 3rd. I don't foresee any problem with local offices being certified, but I don't know. These times are kind of weird. And ballots can be received up to 2 weeks after the election. So the attorney might have more information on how the state plans on having us handle that currently. So that's a good question. But new council members have, I think, 8 days to be sworn in to take for the, normally they would be seated on November 10th in a normal year.
None of us know right now how ballots will be managed post November 3rd, but the answer to your question in general is yes, they would generally be seated by that meeting.
Thank you.
So does anybody have anything to propose about this item?
I think, Mr. Bailey, we'll just put that on the agenda for the November meeting, that it's an item to discuss and come up with a date at that time.
So if nobody feels strongly about this at this point, then there's nothing we need to do right now.
Correct.
That's correct.
So the next item is HC, which is information about November 3rd, Election Day, as it relates to the village's buildings.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I can speak on this. As a township clerk with experience of running over 40 elections, I can tell you that the presidential elections are very high volume and just extremely busy elections. Curtis Wright, I think it was last year, asked the council permission to use the village community room as a precinct for the precinct 2 voters. It used to be in the schools. He had to move it out due to security issues and things of that nature. So we have a live precinct here on November 3rd. It is very disruptive it will be to the office operation. We have an open area here inside the office that would be more conducive for space purposes, not only for holding people while they're waiting to vote, especially in inclement weather, which we normally get something like that in November, and also maintain some safer social distancing spacing. And then we have the issue with the absentee ballots. Even though a lot of people are considering voting absentee, there's a scare that the absentee ballots aren't going to count, so you might have higher than normal foot traffic on top of that. So all of those things factoring in, I recommended that the council consider closing the offices for November 3rd for Election Day. And the building will have to be open at 6 a.m. It will remain open until after the polls close at 8 p.m. and until the inspectors vacate the building. And we have maintained a pretty tight germ-free environment by cleaning up, during the day and at the end of the day, and limiting the access to where people can and cannot come in and use the building. So that's going to be compromised as well.
I have a question. This material all refers to precinct 2.
Yeah.
We have precinct 1, I believe, also in the village.
It's not a precinct here. This is not a location for precinct 1. It's only a location for precinct 2. Voters.
Yeah. This memo is a precinct 2 memo. In the past, we've had precinct 1 at the church, I believe.
I don't know, but that's irrelevant. We're talking about precinct 2 and closing the building on Election Day. So I'm recommending that the council officially close for this Tuesday, November 3rd, and you may even want to consider for every general election, if you continue to house the precinct at this location. It's better for the voters, it's better for the office workers, it's better for the election inspectors. And I also have to add that I don't feel your staff should be penalized for us closing, and they should probably be, you should consider paying them for their normally scheduled hours.
Mr. Bailey, if I may, this is Joe.
Go ahead.
And a possible alternative, not only an alternative to that, but another helpful thing is we may be able to do the remote, send the phones off-site and still have the phones answered that day, like we did when we were closed down March, April, and May. So we can still take calls, perhaps, from residents or callers.
Could you repeat that, Salvador?
Go ahead.
When we were closed, the offices were closed middle of March, April, May into June before we reopened. We forwarded the phones off-site, and I had some burner phones, if you will, like track phones, that were at the staff's homes. And you would ring here, and they would answer it as if you were calling the office. You wouldn't even know that you were calling somebody at their home. So we could still provide that service on that day, if that's a concern. You know, that's one way to, rather than have it be just closed, if somebody's calling about a permit or a general question, we could still answer the phones on that day, even if the office itself was closed.
Perhaps that's something that the manager can work on, and a motion that we make could be flexible enough so that he would have those options to explore.
I myself was planning on going to be on a vacation day that day anyways.
If I could suggest, I think it's a wonderful idea to close the office on Election Day. I actually hope someone contacts the township to see if our staff can be of any assistance to the election. I work a different precinct. You don't want the office open during that madness. We have no idea how many people are going to be coming. Even at a small election, there are times when the village offices will be full of people. And Dave, yes, Precinct 1 does vote at the church on Burdick Street, but has nothing to do with Precinct 2 voting at the village offices.
Yes. I brought that up just because I thought people would be confused about Precinct 1 versus Precinct 2.
I have no concerns about paying for the staff for that day either. However, if there's things going on and they want to take those phones home, that's a great idea, Joe Medora.
So was that a motion, Mo?
It can be. I'll make a motion to close the village offices on November 3rd for the election, and to allow the staff the day off with pay, and allow them the consideration out the township with the election.
Does that motion also include the option, which the manager will be investigating about having remote phones?
If you want to include it, it can be. I think Joe can handle that himself.
Gotcha.
Second, Cook.
Comments, aside from what we've already done? We've done quite a bit of discussion already.
Roll call vote. Bailey?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Helmut?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll breathe a sigh of relief that we have a plan. I'll breathe a bigger sigh of relief on November 4th. Item 8D is consideration of an amendment to the water ordinance to allow different and alternate piping materials. I guess this relates to the regular replacement of piping that gets from the street into the buildings. Do we have somebody to tell us about it?
Yes, Mr. Bailey, you're correct. And Don and Rudy Reyes both brought this up to me earlier this year. As you know, the village is going to be going through the process of replacing, several hundred, perhaps 800 or more service lines as they go from the curb stop into the homes or offices or other buildings. The current ordinance does not allow plastic materials to be used from the curb stop into that private property area. And for one, it's becoming more of a common practice across the state. And for two, this is normally something we wouldn't be responsible for and incurring costs for, but we are now. And when you contemplate the cost differences between copper and plastic, if we were doing one or two or three of them, it wouldn't matter. But when you're doing 800, 900 or so, the costs are great. And the price per foot I put in the memo, it's really going to save some money, and it makes it a little bit faster sometimes to deal and work with the material as well. And Mr. Brantley is on our meeting as well, if he has anything else to add, or if you have any questions for him.
The only
I
thing
have one question. I have one question, which is, what do we do with all the copper that we rip out? Are we going to be able to salvage it and get some money out of it?
we're not removing and replacing copper. We're removing and replacing galvanized service lines.
I see. So copper is really not an issue here.
No.
We just will need to amend the ordinance in order to go forth, because the ordinance now calls that we must use K-copper. It does not allow for the option of plastic piping. And this is even something we could have contemplated even if we weren't under the new lead and copper rules that were requiring us to do this. It's potentially possible that residents could come to us and have asked to use plastic material in place of the copper. And either way, whether it was their request or our request internally, we would have to amend the ordinance in order to make that doable. And so we're basically asking to amend the ordinance to allow that other material to be used in addition to copper.
Does this meet the international?
Go ahead, Mo.
I'm just wondering, does this meet the International Plumbing Code?
I don't believe that is relevant to internal plumbing. So I know there's several municipalities that are using this HDP piping for their service lines. Similar to PEX, which does meet the plumbing code that's internal building inside the buildings.
This Mo, this line is not governed by the code, and the council should be aware that this entire program is being put upon the local communities by the state of Michigan. It's a big program nationwide where certain percentages of these lines have to be addressed over time. It's an outgrowth of the Flint water issues. And many communities have taken steps to change their ordinances to allow for this material because it's going to save each municipality quite a bit of money in the long run. This is another one of the programs where the state has mandated action by local governments without funding the cost of those local programs. And I think Don Brantley could come up with a lot of words to coin this program. But it is a big program, right, Don? I mean, this is a significant undertaking being put upon local government.
That's correct. This is a 20 to 25 year program that we're going to be into, and we definitely need to address this. And one thing that Manager Medor and I did talk about, if there was a resident that did want to upgrade to copper, say they wanted a copper service coming in their home, that they could just pay the difference from the HDPE pipe to the copper. So this lead and copper law, I mean, it's really going to affect the residentials. We probably do have a few commercial businesses, but it's basically the residential service lines.
When our plumbing inspector goes out and inspects a home, what code does he do it under?
The plumbing code,
Yeah.
but he only inspects internally. These lines are outside of the house.
Okay, I think they're still covered by the code. And I guess either way, I'd like to see a letter from our plumbing inspector that says this meets the code if it's covered by the code. Otherwise, I don't have a problem with it. But I want to know that it's approved by the code.
It is. I looked it up. It's covered under the state plumbing code, the material that Mr. Brantley mentioned. I just want to say too, it's a great idea to use the plastic, particularly the material that Mr. Brantley mentioned. It's going to save a ton of money. This was a $2.5 billion unfunded mandate that my office actually sued the state of Michigan over because of a number of reasons. So now it's hitting Village of Oxford, and it's good to get the lead out, but it's a huge expense. So anything that we can do to do a good job and make the replacement is great. So I'm definitely in favor of making the change to not require copper, as long as we use PEX or polyurethane or what Mr. Brantley mentioned. Those are all covered under state plumbing code.
I'm assuming that the plastic has been rigorously tested in terms of leaching and whatnot.
Yeah, it's tried and tested. You're raising the concern, are we going from bad to bad? That is not true. We're trying to systematically over time in a lot of local communities that are even older than ours to replace these faulty lead water lines, as Kelsey inadvertently said, get the lead out. But the state has mandated a systematic approach over time to removing and replacing these water lines. And each community has to do, like a certain percentage. There's ranking, there's all kinds of stuff. And we've prepared access agreements. We have a notice requirements. We have all kinds of things in place in the village to get this program done. But you are authorized to go to this material to save local funding.
I believe that while there's hundreds and maybe even thousands of different kinds of plastic, by now the plastic has been in use long enough so that we know which ones are safe to use and which ones are not.
Correct.
Yeah,
Agree.
and
We agree.
Mr. Bailey, this is Joe. Just so as an example, if you use even a 50 linear foot line on a home, we're saving about $150 perhaps per line, and you do that over 800 homes, that's $120,000 in savings just in material. Now, this will be over the next 20 years that we are mandated to replace these. We don't need to replace them right away, but that $150 savings will come in very helpful when you're looking at about $4,000 to do the work per home already. So any savings we can find, I think, are very valuable.
Yes,
If I-
that's clear.
If I can add one more thing also is the fittings that will attach to the HDPE pipe. It's copper pipe diameter, so we don't have to go out and buy special fittings. They will work on our compression fittings that we'd use on copper. So if we get in a situation, copper to plastic, the fittings are interchangeable. So we're not having to go out and buy all new fittings.
And just to reiterate, this is only from the curb stop inward. From the main to the curb stops, there will be no changes in any materials. If we ever do a water main replacement in order, as part of this process through the lead and copper rules, that still will remain copper from the main over to the curb stop.
And who inspects the water and sewer lines that come from the stops into the house?
From the curb stops into the house,
Yes.
I do.
And don't you do that as part of a plumbing permit?
No,
They don't have to pull a plumbing permit to put in a water and sewer line.
it's part of their, yes, that you're right. Yes, they do have to pull a permit, but it's part
All I
of their,
wanted-
it's part
I
of
think this
the,
is wonderful. Let's save the money. Get a letter from the plumbing inspector saying it's legal and it's approvable material. It should take 2 minutes to ask him.
All right.
And it,
Can we approve it? Can we approve it contingent on that, Mo?
absolutely.
Good.
Would you like that as a
Mo,
motion?
Mo, I sense that you're going to make a motion.
Do you sense these things, Rob? I'll make a motion to amend section 70-73 of the Code of Ordinances to allow plastic piping materials to be used for water service leads between the curb stop and the building, depending on getting a letter from the plumbing inspector showing that it's approvable material.
Second, Cook.
Okay, we got a second.
Kemp,
Yes.
Helmut,
Yes.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes. Okay. Item 8E. 8E relates to Resolution 20-14, assuming that we pass it, which relates to MDOT permit names.
Yes, Mr. Bailey, this is an annual thing that MDOT needs. And whether it's myself or Mr. Brantley or Chief of Police Sowald, all three of us are capable and able to go in there, but they just want to see it in writing. The state does, to just so they have the record and people have access to their online permit gateway.
I'm surprised the number is so small. This is actually 20-14. We've only done 13 of these similar things so far this year.
We're that efficient.
I guess so. And we've got three names on the tail end of this, it looks like. Joe Medor, Don Brantley, and Mike Sowald. And somebody's supposed to sign it.
I will sign it if it's approved. Or maybe I'll have Terry.
Does anybody have any comments or questions? I hear a silence. Does anybody have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2014 and the authorize the village manager or village clerk to sign it.
I'll support. And that was manager or clerk, you said?
Or, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, Helmut,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Kemp.
Yes.
Eight F. 8F is, bids for DPW utility trucks. And, perhaps we want to include G as well, DPW mower bids. Does, Mr. Brantley have something to tell us?
Yes, council, I'm bringing forward tonight the request for purchase of a 2021 utility truck with a utility box and snowplow. This vehicle will be replacing our 2001 utility truck with the utility box and snowplow. We did get pricing from the county co-op purchasing program and from My Deal, whom we are members of. The county co-op came up with the best pricing for the cabin chassis of $27,432. And Napahide came up with the best through the county co-op purchasing program for the Trek utility box and the snowplow. I also added a contingency of $1,000 for the lettering of the truck, the painting on the door that says Village of Oxford DPW, and possibly some running boards, and then anything that would come up during the build of the truck. The truck that we're looking at is virtually the same truck as the 2016 utility vehicle and the 2007 utility vehicle. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, to make it clear, the stuff that we're addressing right now, which you just mentioned, does not include anything about a mower.
This is just item F, just the vehicle.
Yes, okay. That's
So
what I wanted to verify.
So we did budget $46,000 for the vehicle, and through the county co-op purchasing program, including the $1,000 contingency, I'm requesting the dollar amount of $43,173.85 to come from the motor equipment fund.
Yeah, that checks with my calculations precisely.
Don, I have a question.
Yes.
I was just trying to think, what trucks do we even have now? Just off the top of your head.
Which what?
What trucks do we have now?
As far as utility trucks?
Yeah.
We have 2 1-tons, dump trucks, and then we have a 2001 utility truck, a 2007 utility truck, and a 2016 utility truck. And then if you want to call it a truck, we have a 1999 1-ton that has our asphalt box in the back of it, but that's only used for coal patching streets. That's what
I
we
was
have.
waiting for you to list the 96 pickup or something. I couldn't remember what we had, so.
Yeah. Currently in our fleet, we have the 3 utility trucks and the 2 1-tons, plus the coal patch truck.
I know you guys do a great job of keeping them going way past their lifespan, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I got a question. Do you have a plan for what we're going to do with the machinery that's being replaced by this purchase?
We're gonna sell it.
Sell it. Okay.
It's 20 years old. It's not worth a whole lot.
Yeah.
The 4-wheel drive does work and the plow works. So, I mean, we're gonna see what it's worth and we're gonna sell it.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a 2021 utility truck. Wait, I just lost track of my mind. The amount not to exceed $43,173.85 with the funds to be taken out of the motor equipment fund.
Thank you. I'll second it, and I'll comment that that includes a $1,000 cushion.
Roll call vote. Bailey?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Helmut?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Council.
Okay, the G item is DPW mower.
That's correct. Again, on your cover sheet, we did budget $12,400 for the purchase of a new mower. This mower will be replacing our 2001 zero-turn mower. It's a Husqvarna. It's seen its best days. Again, we did receive 3 bids, and these are municipal pricing bids. Vertical Landscape for $12,000, Atherton Road Sales for $12,000, Novak Supplies for $12,251. I'm recommending that we purchase the Skag Turf Tiger 61-inch zero-turn mower from Burdick Street Landscape, which is a local company here in town, for the purchase price of $12,000.
Okay, I have a question. Our existing mowing equipment still works, does it?
It does, but
Good.
we have a 2012 Skag it's still in really good shape, but our 2001 has seen its life expectancy.
I was just thinking about what happens if the new one breaks down. Is the old one useful as a backup?
We currently have 2 zero-turn mowers. This
Yeah.
is replacing the oldest zero-turn mower.
Gotcha. More discussion? Guess maybe we're ready to vote.
A motion would be nice.
Or there is no motion. Okay, no motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a new Skag Turf Tiger 21 zero-turn mower from Burdick Street Landscape Supply in the amount of $12,000.
Second,
Support.
Cook.
I don't know who got in first. Somebody got in.
Kelsey.
I have Helmut Cook, first, second. Roll call vote. Bailey?
Yes.
Again? Kemp?
Yes.
Helmut?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Thank you, Council.
Now, I don't believe we moved any items down from the consent agenda, did we? That would be item 9, items removed, consent agenda.
No items.
No items. Now we get down to number 10, which is a replay of public comment. Anybody who wants to can tell us anything they like, and we listen to it, and we don't talk back.
Okay,
And
Mr. Bailey.
you need not give us your name and address, but you may if you wish.
Okay, Mr. Bailey, I'm going to start at the other end of our list on the screen, and
Thank you.
I have number 248-408-8104. Do you have a public comment?
John Knoll here, no comment. Thank you, though.
Okay, it brings us down to Ashley Ross.
No comment.
Okay, Kelly Arkles.
Hello, Kelly Eccles, 491 Thornhill Trail. Well, I have questions, but I'm gonna send that to Joe Madore. I just want to reinstate, though, the fact that I support the town hall meeting on the recreational marijuana, because I do believe people do have a lot of questions and need to be informed. And then the only thing that I would ask is for the public hearing in November, the difference between the public hearing in November and then the town hall, I'm a little bit confused on. So I'll ask Joe those questions, but I just want to thank everybody. I do support that town hall.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Lloyd Bourgeau. Dang it.
Pretty close. So I just noticed the talk about closing down for election day. I just wanted to say I work for Ford, and what we do is every 2 years on election day, those are the bigger elections, we do close down for election day. Might be something worth looking into. And then the other is some places will offer paid if you volunteer for it, the day off. So just things to consider for future. But thank you for your time.
Okay. Nicole, I see you on the line. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Hi. I don't have a whole bunch to add. The Scarecrow Festival, virtual Scarecrow Festival is underway. And we got Dorothy and Scarecrow and Tin Man out to Centennial Park today. The road construction's going good. I've published word on the street every single Wednesday since the project has started. It's been really well received by the community. They're very thankful to stay up to date all the time. And I think that's it.
Great. Thank you. I got some pictures out of there downtown tonight. I will send to you perhaps for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, Rose, you're next.
I have nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you. I have a 248-310-5087. Any comment, please? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to, we have two more. 248.
Joe?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is Sue Bizzardi, and
No.
I just wanted to let council know, I've already notified Terry that I am withdrawing my offer to put into interest-bearing account for the time capsule. The museum does not wish to be in a position where people are unhappy or have concerns regarding that public money. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I have 248-408-8104. Any comment? Okay. There. Oh, perhaps. Oh, the unmuted and then muted. Okay, last one I have is 248-804-2966. Any comment? Nope, they remain muted, Mr. Bailey, so I believe that's all.
Thank you. Item 11 is committee reports. 11A is NODA. I have had difficulty making phone contact with the NODA meeting. I'll try again. I don't understand what I or perhaps NODA was doing wrong. Item B is Planning Commission. Maureen?
The Planning Commission met and approved a site plan for the Village Ridge condominiums, not Valley Ridge, but Village Ridge condominiums with just a few requirements. It was a pretty strong plan, and I think we covered everything, so we're in pretty good shape there. And I think that was the only thing on our agenda.
Thank you. And Maureen is also listed here for cable.
The Cable Commission has not met since we met last.
Thank you. Is this normal for a Cable Commission not to have met?
I had an update at the last meeting. We won't meet again until, I think, sometime in November. But at this point, I'm not clear anymore. Probably not till December.
Thank you. My line item for downtown development is marked vacant. I'm not quite sure what that means.
Well, it used to be Mr. Frost, and he is no longer with us, of course, so.
Gotcha.
Did Nicole
We
or
might-
someone attend that meeting?
Oh, I attend them, and I was there. It was, of course, a Zoom meeting. Lots of discussion. I don't have notes in front of me to bring much up to it. There are a couple people's terms expiring. There's still a few vacancies due to the number rising to 13. But I think once council gets over the elections, get the full council set, that's something you may want to address at that point on both of those accounts.
Thank you.
11F is Pollyant Trail. Kemp, do you have anything?
Yes, so at the last Pollyant Trail meeting, we discussed what we would like to do with the Way Station Park, which is the little park on the Pollyant Trail that's over by Powell Street. So Mr. Nold had brought up the idea of saving the catch basin, which is over there currently, and putting fencing around it and whatnot, and creating, more of a little park atmosphere over there. There isn't anything in the master plan about Way Station because that property wasn't owned. From my understanding, wasn't owned by the Pollyant Trail at that point when the last master plan was written. So we just had a discussion about what we'd like to see there in the future. There was some talk of perhaps getting rid of the catch basin. I don't know, Mr. Knoll, are you still on the line? Do you have anything to add? I know that was kind of your baby.
So I'm on the line, and I think it was open for further discussion.
Yes, so if anyone else on council.
Yeah, I have a comment. It seems to me that's an area that has quite a few nearby neighbors. Is that true?
Yes, it's directly across from some condos.
Yeah. So you might be able to get some useful input from your nearby neighbors. I'm not saying that they should dictate what the Pollyant Trail does, but their input might be helpful.
Yeah, so if anyone else on council has an opinion or an idea for over there, if you would contact me before next Wednesday, our next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. G is manager, staff, and attorneys reports.
Mr. Bailey, I think most things that I had to mention, we have discussed already. Things are going pretty well here. The project seems to be going pretty well. They have got some good weather of late. They really brought in that second crew to help, and I think this is going to work out well for them. We've had a lot of good positive comments of the feedback and everything, what they've seen downtown so far, and I think it's going well as best as we could have planned.
Thank you.
That's all.
Mr. Chair, I just want to report to the council that we completed our virtual audit. Actually, last week, it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It went fairly smoothly, but it was weird. And so we'll be just waiting on the financial statements for that. And I wanted to thank the council for their consideration regarding the election and the closing of the office due to the busyness of what's going to be happening here that day.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Davis here. How are you?
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Davis here. I just wanted to give the council a brief report that lets them know that on a daily basis, I work with the clerk and the manager with respect to the latest and greatest news that we're receiving with respect to being able to meet by Zoom and whether or not we can meet by Zoom and whether or not we should return to regular meetings. I just want this council to know a little more than average, and the reason that there's confusion is because when the lawsuit against the governor started, there were parties to the case, and that case started in the federal court system. And again, there was a plaintiff and there was a defendant. When the federal court looked at the lawsuit for a while, they said, you know, this is really a state of Michigan issue. We're gonna do under a very obscure court rule. We're just gonna send the question to the Michigan Supreme Court. So when the issue arrived at the Michigan Supreme Court, there was not a plaintiff, there was not a defendant, and obviously the Michigan Supreme Court ruled that the governor's executive orders were unconstitutional. That gave everybody the idea that, well, there's going to be an appeal time, there's a motion for reconsideration time, and the confusion is that this is not a typical lawsuit. This was like a remand from a federal court to our state Supreme Court to make a decision on a very discrete issue. But I think by the end of this week, through the legislature, we will likely see some resolution of where we stand and whether or not Zoom meetings can continue through the end of October or perhaps through the end of the year. And I know, Kelsey, you're dealing with this at the county level, and there's plenty of confusion to go around. But I just wanted to clarify for all of you who say, well, how can there be any confusion on appeal times? It's because the Michigan Supreme Court did not have a plaintiff and a defendant. It only had a question. So there is no real party, so there is no real appeal time, and that has caused lots of confusion. Also want to make sure that the public understands, I'll clear my throat, Kelly Arkels, unclear my throat, that the public meeting that we're going to have in November is solely on the extension of our moratorium with respect to giving us more time to work on the recreational marijuana ordinance. It is not going to be a substantive public hearing on the recreational ordinance itself. Just want to make sure everybody knows that, because I think the town hall process is going to be very, very important, and I want to make sure that people know exactly when it's going to be and how we're going to go about that. And thanks for all your deference on that ordinance and the respect we're giving to our planning commission for the hard work they did. I'll have something to the council within the next 10 days summarizing the ordinance for your critical review between now and the November meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The manager has not submitted a report under 11G. Do you have anything for us?
No, I just spoke a few minutes ago. That was enough. I'm all set.
Thank you. Then we can proceed to item 12, which is council comments. I'd like to call first on Councilmember Kemp.
So obviously the election is coming up in a couple of weeks. So I would just like everyone in our community to remember that we are all neighbors. Obviously we have quite a few political differences, but at the end of the day, we are still going to be a community. So I would ask that you respect your neighbors and their political opinions so we can have a proceed calmly. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to comment on your comment, which is, I have never lived in a community which was more easygoing than the village of Oxford. I think it's one of the many things that makes the village of Oxford a wonderful and unusual place to live. Next, how about Helmuth?
Everybody have a safe Halloween. Everybody hand out lots of candy. The kids need it. Be kind to your election workers. It's a very long day, and we can get a little cranky. So be patient with us. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Cook.
Thanks. I'd like to echo Councilperson Kemp's comments about respecting other people's political opinions. It is really important. I know of some issues that have been happening in the village where people with certain political signs have been targeted. It's really unfortunate to see. So we'll get through it. But of course, stay calm, carry on, vote. The other thing I wanted to just mention is, as we continue through this pandemic and hopefully come out of it, we're going to be looking at some really important decisions for the village as far as the social district, as far as allowing recreational marijuana businesses. Both of these things will draw people to our village. And so, we need to be thoughtful in thinking about what direction we want to go in, I suppose. One of the amazing things about living in the village is being able to go downtown and be so close to all of our businesses. So that's just what's been going through my mind lately. What's going to help our businesses thrive and bring in new business to the community so that we all continue to have the awesome downtown that we have, especially those of us who can walk there. I mean, it's great living downtown. So I just think we have a lot of really exciting things coming up, and hopefully we can go in a good direction. I'm really confident that we're going to be able to do that and help our businesses along the way. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Now myself, for council comments, I only have one, which is kind of a technical thing, and it's a very general thing, which was suggested by the letter from the Victoria Connolly. And that is, at present, we've got a kind of a one-size-fits-all set of rules. We've got masks, and masks are supposed to be universal, and everybody's supposed to be wearing a mask. Well, what do you do when you're in a restaurant? Do you filter your soup through your mask? That won't work. And we also got distancing. Well, distancing is great, but they don't work very well when you don't have much space, as for example in Ms. Connolly's place. And the other one I'm looking at is ventilation, in particular the air turnover rate. If you got a bigger fan, then you can exit a lot of viruses out of your facility really fast. I'd like to see some kind of trade-off available to people so that we've got those three things. We've got the distancing of 6 feet, we got the mask compliance issue, or perhaps I should say mask refusal of compliance issue, both, and the question of ventilation. And I'm envisioning something like a restaurant which has an air intake grill at the center of every table. And air gets sucked violently into that intake and gets pumped out the roof of the building. That means somebody could be smoking at that table, and the smoke would never get to any other tables. And I mentioned smoking because I think in the viruses in terms of smoke. You can't see the viruses, but they act just like smoke. If you had something that would suck all that smoke outside, then you wouldn't have any problem with viruses. Now, technically, how do you achieve that? And obviously, then nothing is perfect in this world. So I'm looking forward years and years, maybe decades. Eventually, we'll be able to do that kind of stuff. So that's all I've got. It's an imaginary comment. Do we have any other things that we need to do? We've covered all of our items, but maybe there's still something remaining.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:18 if that's what you're looking for.
Well, nobody else has said anything. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Now let's vote on adjourning.
Kemp,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Thomas. Bailey.
Yes. I think we're adjourned.
Have a good night, all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.